Hello, everybody. My name is Geoff O'Mara. I'm here with you as part of the Prison Yoga Project. And first of all, I'd like to thank the Howard League for having us all along for part of the conference. And I'd like to thank more generally the efforts that everybody here makes to positively impact the lives of those impacted by the prison system or maybe the criminal justice system more generally. The yoga practice I thought I would offer to you today is really not that dissimilar from a yoga practice I might offer anytime. I really like to focus on the aspect of accessibility. It's one thing that's definitely come into my practice and my facilitating through my work within prisons, really being inspired by the realization that so many people don't have access to a practice like yoga. So how can we make this practice more available? I'm also part of an organization called the Space to Breathe Collective here in Leicester, where our mission is to, again, provide practices like yoga, but more generally any well-being practice, making that more accessible to the community. So another aspect of that accessibility is just kind of within the own person. Reminding people that we don't need to have any fancy clothes to practice yoga. We really don't need we don't even need a yoga mat. What we really need minimally is just a space for ourselves. We need a body. We don't need any particular kind of body. We might have a body that's more suited to practicing just sitting in a chair, not even experiencing any kind of grand physical movement. I always like to remind people that while so many people think of yoga as a purely physical practice, even though the physicality is a small part of the fullness of a yoga practice, that physicality can be as simple as using our physical body that we all have been blessed with to provide us with a point of attention, right? So our practice can become, how can I just use my physical body, not in any grand way, but can I just use my body simply as something with which I can practice gently disciplining my awareness. Okay? So that's what I think we'll do today, is give a practice that is fairly rounded, but one that will be accessible. I'll give options for it. Maybe if you're on the floor, you can do it on the floor if you have a yoga mat. If you just have simply a chair and a little bit of space, it'll be accessible that way as well. And lastly, time. Not everybody has the luxury of an hour and a half, 2 hours to practice their yoga. And the means to go to a different place, to be with a teacher and a class and enjoy that class. What if we can figure out a way to just make it as simple as coming into our own space and maybe having a half an hour, 45 minutes to be present with ourselves. Okay? So let's go ahead. Wherever you are, however you are, just find a seat that is comfortable for you. Okay, you might be sitting on the floor, you might have your legs crossed, you might be kneeling, you might be sitting in a chair. However you're sitting, I like to remind people maybe just a couple things we might aim for here is to have a nice tall spine. Well, first of all, comfortable. You want to be comfortable. We don't want to have to be fidgeting around. If we're trying to practice paying attention, we don't want to be continually pulled away by aspects of our discomfort. Not that discomfort is something that we have to avoid, but particularly here at the beginning when we're trying to just let ourselves settle in. Make sure you're comfortable. Have a nice tall spine. We want to sit up nice and tall, but not in a rigid way. We don't want to be contracting ourselves, quite the opposite of that. We want to be able to make space within ourselves because we're starting to access the breath. If we think about the location of the lungs within the torso, we want to make as much space as we can here, and we'll find that by sitting up nice and tall. But at the same time, allowing the body to rest in a more open manner. So you might even kind of massage your way into it. You might sit up nice and tall with a nice deep breath, and then as you exhale, you maybe even fall a bit towards the opposite of that. You know, let your spine round a little bit so you can feel what it feels like to collapse, right? And then inhale back up, exhale to release, and by kind of easing your way in there, you'll find that perfect middle ground where you're sitting up nice and tall, but you can find a little relaxation in the shoulders, in the arms, maybe even the muscles of your face. You can close your eyes if you like. You don't have to if you want to keep your eyes open, maybe just dropping the gaze down to the floor out in front of you and relaxing the focus of your eyes so you're not holding on to anything in particular. I always suggest finding an intentional place for your hands. Again, by putting your hands in a particular place or holding them in a particular manner, you can start to avoid the fidgeting that often starts to creep in. Okay, so find whatever is comfortable for you, and then see if you can start to observe what it feels like to just have a little bit of stillness. Notice what it feels like as you observe the connection of your seat into the floor or into the chair that you're sitting on. What is the pressure like there? What is the connection between maybe the soles of your feet and the floor, or your ankles and the floor? What do you observe in the movement of your breathing? The breath being, maybe in my opinion, the most critical part of our yoga practice. I always like to suggest to people, here already we've done a perfect yoga practice. We've found our bodies, given ourselves a little time to sit with it, and then connected with our breathing. Okay? The breath being a direct connection to our nervous system. So if we can start to just get a little bit more familiar with the breath. Really beautiful habitual practice is to just pause throughout your day and just see the qualities of your breath. Feel the qualities of your breath. Okay? It might be short, it might be choppy, you might be holding the breath. All of these things are perfectly fine and perfectly normal. But if we can start to observe that, then we can start to make little refinements as they feel comfortable for us. Okay, so again, as I suggested when we just found our seat, same thing maybe with our breath. Oftentimes I'll sit and then I'll notice my breathing and then I'll exaggerate it. So I'll take a really deep breath in. I might even retain that breath momentarily just to see what it feels like in my body. And then follow it all the way out to the very end of your exhale. Then the next breath, the next 2, 3, 4 breaths, just let them fall back somewhere into the middle. Right? And likely you will find that breath that starts to feel comfortable for you. It will start to have that nourishing aspect of our breath, which we need. And it will fall into that place somewhere in the middle where we're not having to work too intensely with the breath, but the breath isn't lazy or forgotten about anymore. Take an inhale. See if you can feel the expansiveness of the inhale in your body. See where it goes in your body. Is it up in your chest? Do you feel it in your ribs? Do you feel it in your belly or your lower back? If it's possible, breathe in and out through your nose. If that's not possible, don't worry about it. Just breathe through your mouth. What does it feel like as you take the breath in through your nose? Maybe you can feel it travel down your throat and then become expansive in the body. Okay, so seeing that inhale, feeling the inhale. Maybe you can start to make a little bit more space for the inhale. Maybe you can start to smooth the inhale out. Okay, so now focusing particularly on that exhale. We take the breath in, and then just observe the letting go, just letting the physical body relax as the breath is expelled. Okay, we can start to realize that the exhale often requires nothing more than just letting go of the physical body, just allowing for that release. So we take the breath in, and then releasing the breath. Sometimes it feels good to let it go through the mouth. Sometimes you can start to gauge the breath a little bit more if we exhale through the nose. Okay, we might notice a bit of choppiness in the exhale. We might find that we habitually stop the exhale before we actually reach the end of the breath. Okay, so if we can just sit with the breath for this little bit of time and notice these kind of more subtle qualities, notice these more subtle behaviors with the breath. Okay, so again, drawing a breath in, as you exhale, making sure you follow that breath out all the way to the very end of your exhale. Okay, you can watch as that breath starts to taper, as it starts to diminish, eventually becoming very small, and you find your way to the very end of that exhale. And when you reach the end of the exhale, if there's a little pause that occurs there, if there's a little bit of stillness that you can find, then you might allow yourself to just rest in that stillness. Again, avoiding the habit of jumping right back into the next inhale. Okay? As long as that pause lasts, you let yourself rest, and whenever the body signals to you that it's time to take the next inhale, then you go ahead and follow suit. Okay? So I'm taking a breath in, and then a nice, easy, long breath out. Watching it taper to the very end of the breath, and then just resting in that pause, waiting for the signal to begin the next breath. And I can start to fall into this cycle of the breath that has no beginning, it has no end. It's just this continuous process within my physical body. Perfect yoga practice right here. Just paying attention to the body as I breathe. Okay, if I just allow myself to be curious and attentive, I can start to recognize, the finer points of the breath. If I choose to, I could start to slow the breath down a little bit. I could start to stretch that breath out. I could ask myself, where does the breath maybe need to go in the body? And I could start to move the breath around a little bit. But I never struggle with the breath. Okay? As soon as I feel any kind of resistance in the breath, then I know it's time to back out and just let the breath be a bit more effortless. Okay? So I can really enjoy a good bit of time. Just, what does it feel like to breathe? Okay? And if this is the sum of your yoga practice, then that's perfect. If you could spend a few minutes a day just doing this simple practice, then you'll notice the huge benefits from the simplicity of it, yes. Okay. But we can move on from here. We can find some simple physical movement to start to engage a bit more fully with the physical body. Okay? Maybe just bringing the palms of the hands to the center of the chest. Really simple movement, but what does it feel like to have the palms of the hands meet in front of you? Okay? Seeing what the sensations are there. Noticing if your breath is still moving. If you've seemed to have lost your breath, come back. Realizing the palms meeting. Realizing the continuous fullness of your breath. Just by bringing the palms of the hands together, just adjusting this position of the physical body, you might find the breath changes. You might find further instruction for how you sit. When I bring my palms together, I often find myself lifting the chest up into the thumbs in front of my sternum. I might find my shoulders rolling back a little bit, opening across my chest, making even more room for the breath. Right? And then I can pause here. I can decide what exactly is the best way for me to hold the palms of my hands together. Is it pressing the palms firmly together, meeting across the fullness of the palms of my hands, or do I keep space between the palms of my hands? Do I just meet the fingertips perhaps? Okay, there's no right or wrong way to do it. Again, I'm just practicing, paying attention to what feels right within my body. Okay, let's take another breath or two here. Okay, and then maybe bringing a bit more intentional pressure between the palms of the hands. You feel that pressure there between the hands. You feel the muscles start to engage, reaching out through the arms. Right? You might feel the arms start to activate. You might feel this all the way back into the shoulders, back into the shoulder blades. You might have to become a bit more intentional with the breath. And the next time you take an inhale, then just sweep the arms up overhead. Get a nice tall seat here. Again, as I sweep my arms up overhead, I find a little suggestion to lift through my chest, to reach all the way up through the crown of my head. And when I sweep those arms up overhead on the inhale, not holding the breath there, but still allowing the breath to move even as I come to a bit of stillness in this new position. Okay. So maybe one more inhale, you might reach up a little bit taller. And then as you exhale, just float the arms down wide and let them come down to your sides. Okay. Now we can enjoy the little practice of linking movement of the body up to the movement of the breath. Okay, really enhancing the mindfulness of our practice. As you inhale, sweep the arms up overhead. When you reach the top of the breath, that's when maybe the palms meet overhead, or maybe you're reaching fully through the arms. As you exhale, just allowing the arms to float back down. When the arms reach your side, that's the tail end of your exhale. Okay? So don't worry about what the pace is. You can move as quickly or as slowly as you want. Just see if you can start to link the movement of your breathing to the movement of your body. Okay, the next time you take an inhale and you sweep the arms up overhead, let's pause there. We'll take an additional breath here, maybe to reach a little bit more space in. Actually, let's take a few breaths here. Let your movement be intuitive. Let it be a bit spontaneous. As I'm sweeping my arms up here, I feel like I want to get a little side stretch, or I don't even feel it in particular. I just feel like my body needs to be a little bit more free. It wants to move a bit more spontaneously here at the beginning of our practice. So whatever that is for you, maybe it's a side stretch, you're reaching into the rib cage, maybe it's a little rounding forward of the spine, maybe you're lifting up through the chest, dropping the arms back. You get a little gentle back bend. Maybe you find a little bit more room for that breath. Okay, rolling out the wrists, opening the hands. When you're ready, let's take one more inhale here, maybe to sweep the arms back up. As you exhale, let's twist to the left. Okay, so just a simple twist, rotating the body to the left. Okay, if you're sitting in your chair or on the floor, your right hand will probably come across to your left knee. Okay, if I'm sitting on the floor, okay, same thing, hand comes across. That left hand either finds the side of your chair, the back of the chair, the floor behind you. Whatever works for you to give you a little bit of stabilization here, maybe a little bit of fine-tuning, but we're not forcing anything. Listening to the breath, listening to the body. As I take a deep inhale, I want to make sure I still have my nice tall spine. As I exhale, if I find a little bit more room, then I might start to move a little further into the twist. But again, not forcing anything. And another perfectly good option is to keep this a bit dynamic. So as I inhale, I'm twisting, so I'm compressing the lungs, not as much space for the breath, right? So if I want to make a little bit more space, I might actually release the twist a little bit, and then as I exhale, then the lungs are diminishing in size. I might find a little bit more room to move into my twist. So I, again, think of it as massaging my way in. Inhale to release a little, exhale to find my way back in. Okay, let's take 2 or 3 more breaths on this side. Okay, when you're ready to release, carefully let yourself come back to center. Maybe it would feel good to shake it out for a moment. And then on your next inhale, sweep the arms back up, sit nice and tall. As you exhale, this time twisting to the left. Again, find a position for your hands, set yourself up. Each inhale, lengthening the spine all the way up through your neck to the base of the skull, out through the crown of the head. As you exhale, you're twisting. Okay, so seeing what kind of adjustments you might make to the breath, seeing how the breath has changed, but still staying with that complete breath. So that inhale, feeling the fullness, maybe the expansiveness. As you exhale, you're following that breath all the way out. Okay, and again, let's inhale, sweep the arms back up overhead. And then as you exhale, you can just float the arms back down. Pause, take a moment in stillness. Enjoy a couple breaths. Notice the relaxation through the arms, the simple movement of the breathing. Okay, and to bring everything back to center, maybe just a few rounds through what we call seated cat-cow. Okay, oftentimes we do this on the floor. If you're on your mat, you could be on your hands and your knees, and the action is to inhale, drop the belly, pull the chest through, exhale to arch the spine, but we can do this just as easily in our chair. Okay, so sitting on the edge of your chair, palms of the hands on the knees, inhale, pull the chest up and through, roll those shoulders back. Get a nice full breath in, and then as you exhale, rounding the spine, drop your chin down towards your chest. Release all the muscles in your neck. Let your head be as heavy as possible. Maybe you widen the shoulder blades and feel that opening through your back. Inhale to come forward. Exhale to round back. Again, finding the fullness in your breath. Expansive inhale, and then following the breath all the way to the end of the exhale. No rush. Okay, one last round. Okay, and then let's inhale to come back up to our nice tall seat. Okay, Okay, be aware of the position of the hands. Okay, so from here, why don't we, let's do one more thing, either seated on the floor or seated in our chair, right? A lot of the practice, I think, is helpful to keep coming back to our center, okay? And that doesn't mean we have to do all kinds of crazy work at our core and strengthen and all that stuff. But I think the value is really in, again, practicing that awareness, seeing how I can actually pay attention to my body and make connections to different parts of my body. The center just being particularly valuable in stability and holding the body in a safe manner. Okay, so I'm just going to rotate here so you can see. If you're seated in your chair, you might just draw one knee up, you might hold it. You might be able to balance, so you can draw the other knee up and hold. If you're seated on the floor, then you can simply hug the knees in. You always have the heels to give yourself a little bit of balance. Otherwise, I'm just drawing the knees in, maybe lifting the heels. Okay. If you're ready to take it a step further, hug those knees in and then see if you can hold them up in place as you release the arms. Maybe release the arms forward. Maybe starting to lift the feet. Okay? We might not feel too open in the backs of the legs. We don't have to straighten the legs. We can just keep a nice bend in the knees. But sitting up nice and tall through the chest, roll those shoulders back. If you start to round, just grab onto the backs of your knees. Pull your chest up and through, get that nice tall spine, roll the shoulders back, and take a breath. Anytime you want to challenge your center a little bit more, maybe you release the hands for the breath. If you're seated in your chair, it's basically the same thing. Okay. So drawing a knee up, maybe draw the other knee up. Okay. Holding here. Sitting up nice and tall, roll the shoulders back. Maybe reach the arms forward, try to keep the knees lifting. You could lift the soles of the feet. Okay? So maybe just taking another breath or two here. Whenever you need a break, you can always set the feet back down. Take a breath, and then if you've got a little bit more time to come in, come on back up. Steady yourself. Take a breath. Releasing the feet back down. Again, coming back to your stillness. Pause and take a few breaths. Okay. One of my favorite ways to practice is to bring that energetic movement in, recruit the body, and then come back to stillness. Let everything release. See how good it feels to let everything go. Okay? And a really good practice for our day-to-day activities as well. We always are, getting consumed by things, bringing the energy in, having to act powerfully. But then when we find the time to rest, can we let all that activity, can we let all the kind of placement of the mind on these activities, can we let that rest? Can we come back to the simplicity of just sitting, letting the body be still, letting the breath relax, and then the mind can follow suit. Okay, beautiful. Let's take 2 more breaths. Okay, from here, let's make our way up to stand. Okay, so finding a standing position somewhere in the space that you have. If you have a chair and it seems like that would be helpful for you as you do your standing poses, by all means. You've got your chair to provide you with a little bit of stability. If you feel comfortable without it, then just find a place within the space that you have. Okay, I'll show some options for using the chair and for working without. Okay, so just finding a standing position. Okay, again, seems really simple, almost too simple, but seeing that as so long as I'm curious, I've got all these things I can pay attention to. All these things I can just let myself settle into to enjoy. How do my feet meet the floor? What if I spread my toes out? Can I press my feet down into the floor and feel the floor right underneath me? Can I feel the stability in my legs? If I press into my feet, I can feel those muscles in my legs start to work. All right, I can feel my kneecaps lift. I can feel my thighs engage. Really stable, really supportive. If I press my feet into the floor, can I follow that up further? Can I feel that lift in my chest? Can I feel that reach all the way through the crown of my head? And then maybe releasing all the way out through my arms. Right? Reaching through the fingertips. Spreading the palms open, nice and light. I might feel the muscles in my arms start to activate. And within all this, back to that continuous movement of my breathing. Okay, and I'm asking myself, am I holding myself too rigidly? Is that it constricting my breath? Do I need to take a breath in and then soften a little bit? Just scanning through my body, seeing if anything is still asleep, seeing if anything needs a little bit more connection. And then when I take my next inhale, maybe sweeping the arms up overhead. Again, keeping my connection to the feet. Even though I'm sweeping my arms up, I feel this attention up in my arms. What if I come back to my feet and press into my feet and feel that lift through my chest, feel the reach through the crown of my head, feel the reach through my fingertips, and the breath is still moving smoothly. One more inhale to reach, and then as you exhale, float the arms back down. Okay? Might do that a few times. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, float the arms back down. One more time to come up. Inhale, sweep the arms up. This time we'll come into our chair pose. Okay? Softening into the knees. Okay? Keeping that inhale so we're still reaching nice and long through our upper body, even as we start to bend into the knees. Okay? If it's too much on my arms, I can always bring palms of the hands to the center of my chest. I can bring my hands to my hips. I can roll the shoulders back, keep my chest nice and open, and just enjoy some breaths. If I want to do a little bit more work here, if I've got the energy, I can always sit deeper. I could sweep those arms alongside my ears, find a bit more powerful breath, keeping my eyes nice and still, keeping the breath nice and steady. If even that is feeling too much in a standing position, I can always come back to my chair. Okay? Find what's appropriate for you. Maybe take a couple more breaths. And when you're ready to come out, take one more inhale. And then as you exhale, press into the feet. Back up to your standing pose. Okay? Again, back to the stillness. Falling back into the breath, simplicity of that movement. Okay, arms can be at your sides, palms could be at the center of your chest, wherever you feel most mindful. Okay, let's take it on to some more standing poses from here. Again, we have the chair. Maybe I'll just keep that handy for some options. I'll turn to the side. Okay, so if I'm here at my starting position, if I wanted to work a little bit more, I might start back in my chair pose, take a couple breaths. If I wanted to just move on, let's take the left leg and step the left leg straight back. Okay, so we find this nice lunge position. Find your right knee and start to direct it over the center of that right foot. The palms of the hands can be the center of the chest, at your hips. If you're feeling a bit more energetic, sweep those arms up overhead. Widen your stance to the point that feels comfortable for you. If you want to keep it a bit more dynamic, then we can do this. We can straighten that front leg, relax the arms. Inhale, sweep your arms up, bend your front knee. Exhale to come out. Inhale to drop in. Exhale to come out. Sometimes I do this again just to massage my way in on a breath where everything seems to find its place. If I wanted to, then I might just pause there. Stillness in the body, but a bit more energy recruited here. But I still have that nice, smooth flow of the breath. When you're ready to make your way out, if you've got the chair, you can hang on to the chair, step your foot up to meet the right foot, and we're back in our standing position. Stillness, take a breath or two. And then when you're ready for the other side, this time we'll step the right foot back. Right foot steps back. You can lift that back heel. If you need a little bit more space in the front of the hip, if it feels okay, you could drop that heel down, spin the right toes out. You're going to feel a little bit more drawing into the front of that hip. Square chest and shoulders to the front. Okay, whenever it feels right for you to come in and just take a breath or two in a more static version of this pose, whatever that looks like for you. Maybe it's holding on to the chair for a little extra support. And then when you're ready to make your way back out, step the foot back up. Back to your standing pose, enjoying some stillness, enjoying the ease in your breath, watching the breath come back down. Heart rate might have picked up. You might place a palm over the center of your chest. Okay. From here, let's try a little bit of balancing before we bring ourselves back down into our seat. Okay? So maybe we would take a pretty simple standing pose. We'll do tree pose. Lots of people are familiar with tree pose. Okay? Chair or having a wall for a little bit of extra stability is a perfectly good idea. Okay? So with our tree pose, coming back to your initial standing pose here, rooted down through the feet, standing nice and tall. When you feel ready, again, you can have your chair for a little bit of support if you need it, either in front of you or to your side. Standing through the left leg, lift the right. Okay, you might draw that knee up, just see what it feels like to be standing through that one leg. Okay, you might keep the toes to the floor, and you might try just hovering the foot momentarily. Okay, if you want to take it a little bit further, you could turn the right heel to the left ankle, toes touching to the floor, a little bit of a kickstand to give you a little support. Hands can stay on the chair. They might come together center of your chest. You could sweep the arms up overhead. If you wanted to move on from here, sole of the right foot to the left calf, or if you've got the space for it, maybe taking the sole of the right foot up to the inner thigh. Again, arms in whatever position feels right for you. You might have a hand on the chair. Back to your breath. Eyes are perfectly still. Just as we did at the beginning with our standing pose, scan through the body. Find anything that feels like it's just kind of checked out. Press the foot into the floor. Press your leg into the sole of the foot. Press the sole of the foot back into the leg. Feel that integrate up through your body. Okay, whenever you're ready to come out, see if you can mindfully take that right foot, put it down exactly where it needs to go. Okay, pausing, take a breath. If the body needs a little bit of movement to shake it out, go right ahead. And then when you're ready for the other side, shift the weight over into the right leg. Still have the chair if you'd like. Coming up out of the left foot, either to the ankle, calf, or to the inner thigh. Find what feels right for you. Find a position for your hands. Back into the breath. Again, eyes nice and still. Okay, when you're ready to release, set that left foot down. Now maybe shaking it out. Again, let the movement be spontaneous. Maybe you're twisting a little side to side. Okay, and then let's sweep the arms back up overhead. Find that nice tall standing position, this overhead stretch that we had started with. Okay, take a couple breaths here. Okay, and then to finish our little standing series here, as you exhale, you can release down towards a forward fold. Okay, we want to keep this safe. So if you have a chair, you might be holding on to the back of your chair, and you might just walk your legs out, legs underneath the hips, feet underneath the hips, and then reaching maybe the back out long, and then letting the head drop. Release through the neck, let the head be nice and heavy. Okay. Alternatively, if you're working without a chair, you could bend the knees, walk the hands down the legs, maybe support on the knees. Again, release the head. If everything's feeling good, maybe to the forearms, or maybe even releasing down all the way towards the floor. Okay? You want to keep a nice, safe bend in the knees. This will keep your lower back safe. Okay? If I feel like I have to straighten out my legs, odds are it's going to draw into my lower back, and that can cause us some trouble. So much as you soften your knees, you should feel this release through your lower back. Maybe you're just letting the upper body hang effortlessly. Okay, let's take 3 or 4 or 5 more breaths here. As you hang, focusing on that release through the neck, heaviness of the head, dropping the head below the heart, gives us what we call an inversion. Okay, any number of health benefits from that. Okay, allowing the blood to flow up towards the brain, not having to work against gravity, and just letting the ease come into the upper body. Okay, let's take 2 more complete breaths here to finish. And then from whatever position you're in, if you're with your chair, you walk your feet back in, carefully bring up. If you're released into your forward fold, soften the knees and support yourself as you inhale to bring yourself back up to your standing pose. Give yourself a few breaths here to let everything settle back out. And then when you're ready to come back down into your seated position, either seated back down on the floor, or you can come down into your chair. Okay, wherever you feel most comfortable. Okay, just as we did at the start. Comfortable seat, nice tall spine, making plenty of room for the movement of the breath. Okay. So oftentimes we conclude a physical yoga practice with a position we call shavasana, a final relaxation. We can lie down on our backs, so if that's available to you, you can feel free. Oftentimes I prefer to, at the very least, include a short bit of time where I sit in stillness. Okay, so maybe today that's the choice we make. Just finding a nice, comfortable, seated position so we can let the physical work go, we can let the body be still, we can fall back into the breath. Scanning through the body, finding anything that's still holding on. Okay, if you find any gripping, any tension, any holding anywhere, even if you don't, you might bring your awareness to a part of your body, take a nice deep breath in, maybe the palms of the hands. As you exhale, feeling a release come into that space. Okay. And just as we did in a lot of our physical poses today, you might even feel like you can massage your way into this sitting position. Okay, just by staying with the breath, focus on the inhale, feel the expansion. As you exhale, feel that release. Follow the breath all the way out to the very end. Okay? At some point, you might even feel comfortable with releasing your attention on the breath. And just letting yourself rest in the stillness, resting as simply as you can. Okay, let's enjoy 3 or 4 more complete breaths. Okay, so maybe one last time, bringing the palms of the hands to the center of the chest. And then taking a nice deep bow to yourself, to each other, to everybody everywhere. Wishing everybody well. Namaste.